Hello again, John the Nerd with no job here, and if you didn't read the title of the video, we're here to talk about the 5th episode of HBO's The Last of Us. Endure and survive. All of this frickin' backstory. Last week sure ended on a heck of a cliffhanger, eh? Well, spoilers ahead. Joel and Ellie are held up at gunpoint by a pair of unknown assailants. If you played the game or didn't miss the absolutely subtle clues the show threw at us, we know who these characters are. Well, that was exciting, right? Right? Well, too bad we're starting off with revolution. Yeah, burn those buildings. Take down that government. Yeah. Okay, that's all the excitement I can pretend to gather for this scene. Bet that ominous scene of an empty QZ wasn't enough for us, huh? We gotta see exactly how the bad but not bad guys took over. And oh good, they're murdering and torturing for being murdered and tortured. So it's time for us to learn about Henry and Sam. You know, the mirror we see in the game? Another kid, another adult trying to make their way through the apocalypse? Well, nope. Sam is now aged down and deaf because, well, I'm not really sure why. Nothing in the story changes with the two of them. We never have a moment where his deafness is actually a plot point, so I'm going to assume they did this so they can point at him and go, "Look! Everyone look! We've got a deaf character!" Or they're making fun of him. It really is hard to tell with some of these shows. Alright, let's get back to the real star of this backstory, though. 2.5-man evil lady who is talking to a prison cell full of collaborators that had informed on their neighbors in exchange for goods and preferential treatment. You know, it's not like the world ended or anything. She isn't too happy with these folks, because clearly they didn't put the books back in the library. Or, wait, no. For not turning in the guys who turned in her brother who was killed by Fedra, and shockingly, despite promising them amnesty, she does them a murderin', because she has to check all those boxes on the bad villain checklist. Okay, now back to Henry and Sam again. Because they have met with Dr. Man, who was killed in the last episode, but this is before that, so he's okay and hiding in an attic. This is all well and good because Fedra found the place, but the guy who found it is dead. Dang, that's bad luck on the bad but not bad guy's part. But it's okay, there's bad luck to go around. Because Henry and Sam and Dr. Man have limited food and no ammo. I knew that revolver was empty. Aha! Okay, it's still bugging me. Why is Sam deaf? Ignoring the age thing, because they didn't age him down enough to be more of a hindrance, and they didn't age him up enough to be helpful. Why deaf? Are they hitting us over the head with the fact that he's supposed to be the opposite of a clicker monster? Because he can see and not hear while they can hear but not see? Maybe I have put on my tinfoil hat again, but come on. It feels entirely pointless. Or like there's some point they want to make, but then don't. Oh, dear Lord, it's been 20% of the episode, and we're still here with Sam destroying society by drawing on the walls. How could he? I mean, let's just throw the broken window theory out, link in the description. It's drawing on the wall that ends it all. I guess that means most downtowns are already doomed with all the graffiti they have. Anyway, now without food and Dr. Man, who left off screen, Henry and Sam have to leave their hidey hole. They decide to move on, but oh no. There's a loud noise outside and... It's Joel and Ellie crashing through the laundromat. It's just a different angle of what we saw last scene of Joel doing idiot Joel things, like shooting the guy who was shooting at him. What kind of monster does that? But I'm just gonna pause my rant here for a second. We're 25% of the way through the episode, and it has mostly been a recap of the previous episode. I feel like we could have skipped an episode or two in this entire season at this point, with all of the backtracking and overlapping we have. Alright, now at last, as we skip into the second quarter of the episode, we finally get the resolution to that cliffhanger from the episode. And oh boy, Henry's really selling the fact that he's pointing that gun at Ellie. Shame she doesn't have her jacket on so she could have her gun. I'm so glad we got that point where she put her gun in her pocket instead of in her bag. That really changed things. And look at this! Surprisingly, Joel, who is clearly an idiot, isn't cooperating when he's held up at gunpoint and treating Henry and Sam as hostile. Wow, that's unheard of and clearly so stupid of him. But for once, we actually get a peaceful resolution by talking? What? So they decide to share a meal together? Oh gosh! Yeah, it's not the most exciting way for that to end, but let's be real, Joe can only do so much violence in one episode. His punches must have cooldowns or something, so that got resolved really quickly. I hope you weren't on edge for that in the entire intervening time between this episode and the last episode, and all of the start of this episode. So it turns out, Henry needs Joel and Ellie to escape, because he doesn't think he can take Sam out of the city safely because he can't kill, or so he says. I sure hope that stays true throughout. He has a plan and everything, but he worries about protecting Sam, and well, that's fair enough, especially since he doesn't have any bullets. So he draws out a map, but not just any map. This is the bestest of maps. He mentions tunnels once filled with infected that are no longer filled with infected. Sounds like a good plan, but Henry isn't all good. He lies to Sam when Joel starts to hesitate, and he does this to manipulate him, and Joel doesn't call him out? Yeah, it sucks to disappoint a kid, let alone a deaf one, but really? That's all? What's with Joel being a pushover? Oh, right, most of the show. Oh, well, I can't change the show as much as I want to, so let's continue. So we go to a very quiet place, and Henry is really showing how badly he needs Joel's help because he's being really, really loud. And naturally, we get another Easter egg from the game. It's that really sad underground sanctuary story where a family or two hid with 2 other adults and survived for a while before a lapse in security got them all killed. So they died in, alone little pockets in various corners as infected tore into their underground home. We get a couple sentences about it, and much as I want to complain about this, given how we get the story in the game as a series of notes and a series of just dead bodies we find throughout the level, I'm not sure how they could have conveyed this without another flashback episode, and we don't need more of those. Instead, we just get a quiet moment where the group relaxes, and while Sam and Ellie read a comic book, because comics are the best, Joel and Henry talk about how he had a really good reason for turning in Strong Rebel Lady's brother. Turns out her name is Kathleen, but I didn't know that, and it's not all that funny to say. Poor Sam had leukemia, and good lord, if they make this kid's story any sadder, he's going to have a puppy that only had 1 leg. He's deaf and he had leukemia? What next? Is he going to fold 1,000 cranes? But anyway, Henry thinks he's a bad guy because he did a bad guy thing, which, let's be real, any of us would have done the same to secure medicine for a loved one. And he did something terrible to do it. Wait a second. They're referring to the end of the first game, are they? Well, that wouldn't be all that terribly subtle. Jeez. Ah, well. I'm eager to see where Henry and Joel and Sam and Ellie go from here, so let's go back to Strong Rebel Lady. She's standing in a room, but it's not just any room, despite looking like any other room. It's her bedroom from childhood. And like gasp, she is sad about her dead brother, in case the show didn't give you enough hints about her motivation. Now Security Beardman has showed up to notify her that Brian's killers are still on the loose. You remember? Crybaby Man? The only important character who died in that scene, not like the other 2. To hell with those 2. They didn't have names, so we can forget about them. But Strong Rebel Lady is hearing none of it. She wants revenge, and will go to any lengths to get her vengeance. I sure hope that doesn't cost her everything and end up mirroring a future storyline. So this acts as a warning later on. This is just such masterful storytelling. But she can't second-guess herself, Security Beardman tells her. Her bro was a good bro, but he died, so his ideas weren't good bro ideas. And Strong Rebel Lady has good bro ideas, so they will follow her and, boy, that sentence fell apart quick, huh? Now back to Joel and Henry and Sam and Ellie, out in the open, because they got out of those tunnels. And Henry is very open about how clear they are. And Ellie is very open about annoying Joel into doing what she wants. It's all very open. I mean, until the snipers start shooting at them, and then they have to duck behind a vehicle to avoid the sniper. It's okay. This isn't one of those snipers who can hit a target from a mile away sniper. This is a sniper with Joel's patented bad aim assist turned on, so he's missing a lot. Oh boy, isn't that lucky? Henry tries to flee with Sam, but is returned to their little hidey hole behind the car by a remarkably out-of-character shot by Bad Sniper. Joel tries to assuage the fears of the others and states that he's going to try and sneak up on the sniper. It sounds like a good plan, but oh boy, that sniper doesn't surrender when he gets there. He is called Strong Rebel Lady, and oh boy. Now the bad but not bad guys are barreling towards them in heavily armored vehicles, and the guys in the plow have to be told they're in a plow and to smash cars out of the way. And the tonal whiplash I'm getting from these characters is starting to hurt. Are they bad? Are we supposed to feel sorry for them? Are they Saturday morning cartoon henchmen? We need to pick a lane here, people. Now Joel finally listens to me when I've been screaming at the TV the last few episodes and turns on his aim assist. But it must take a while to activate, because even with the sniper rifle, it takes him a few shots to take out the plow driver, which naturally crashes into a suburban house and explodes. They must have been storing a lot of propane in that house. Alrighty, it's time for Strong Rebel Lady to lead the bad but not bad guys as they surround Sam and Ellie and Henry. Henry, like a responsible adult we saw earlier in the episode, promises to surrender if Strong Rebel Lady lets the kids go, but shockingly, she says no. I mean, who saw that coming? It's almost like she's been neglecting to be a good person this entire time because she wants to kill Henry, and boy, this sure seems like she's gonna get him this time. I want to stop for a moment to talk about the actual thing she says to Henry while he's pleading for Sam's life. This is bad. She says Sam was supposed to die. That kids die all the time, and maybe you shouldn't fudge. I'm changing the word there. Fudge with fate. And the cherry on top, it ends the way it ends. You gotta wonder how long a certain someone wanted to say that to the fans. She says this in full view of the bandits, who are supposed to be sympathetic, remember? We got to see their suffering and how they care about Crybaby Man, but none of them are gonna question killing kids. Holy carpal tunnel! Or maybe they know that the script doesn't actually let strong rebel lady murder children, because before she can follow through with her threats, the ground under the exploded house collapses. And you remember that depression from last episode that strong rebel lady said wasn't important? Turns out it may have been important, because out of this new sinkhole, a swarm of infected. You remember those? The things the show is about? And now to top it all off, the bandits start to shoot, but again, not a guns expert, but given they all have assault rifles, I feel like maybe they have Joel levels of bad aim. They can't stop the tide of fungusy death washing over them. And as a certain construct from a certain game series would say, calamitous! It's at this point that aim assist must be fully turned on for Joel, because he's hitting headshots like he's playing Call of Duty against all the noobs. And all that's really missing is the teabagging. Ellie and Sam and Henry start running because something has stolen Strong Rebel Lady's attention. A bloater! And again, I have to pause here to say, they really did the game justice with this absolute monstrosity. Apparently it took a 6'5" stuntman and dozens of prosthetics to achieve this look, and 10 out of 10 looks like the game. Well done. But let's be real. It's infected. It's not really appreciative of what's going on, so it starts towards Security Beard Man and Strong Rebel Lady. He tells her to run and not look back, and we get to see why in a second. It kills him in a rather brutal fashion, and you know, for once, I'll say the show added something to the game. I was always curious what happened after the screen turned black when Joel got grabbed by one. Was it infecting him? Was it pouring fungus down his throat? No, it was just ripping his head off, and so that's the end of Security Beard Man. Back to Ellie, who's been separated from Sam and Henry and takes cover desperately in an SUV, but a child clicker slips in, and all she can do to escape out a window because all of a sudden Joel's aim assist is back on cooldown and he can't hit anything anymore. So it's up to Ellie to save Henry and Sam from a clicker swarm, and which, she does. I sure hope everyone can get away safely. They reunite with Joel outside Sniper's house, and it looks like it's going to be a clean getaway, but Strong Rebel Lady corners them with her pistol drawn. She starts to say something about something, only to get clickered by the child clicker, which has been chasing Ellie. And as our heroes escape, we get a panning shot of the bandits being overrun by the infected. So all that time, learning about who they are, why they're doing the bad things they do, and they're wiped out. And likely, given the size of that swarm, their QZ's going to be wiped out by the unleashed infected. So a good chunk of the last 2 episodes was completely pointless. They're dead, they're gone, and we are no more invested in the central story by their passing. But that's the end of the Kansas City QZ arc. And I don't want to talk anymore about the failed sympathetic villains, so let's talk about that motel scene at the end of this episode. It's the end of the episode, and our heroes have found a vacant motel room to hole up in for the night to rest and recover, while Joel and Henry talk about resilient kids. Ellie and Sam are reading that comic book again, and they talk. Sam says, he's deaf, so he writes on his little board thing that he's scared. And Ellie, in a surprisingly human moment, fails at comforting him completely, till she reveals she's scared of being alone. Man, if the entire series had this kind of writing, I'd enjoy it more, and you wouldn't be watching these videos. Sam reveals his fate will not be changed just because he's deaf, because just like his game counterpart, he's been bitten. In a desperate bid to help him, Ellie shows him her infected scar, tries to put her blood into his bite wound to save him. Unfortunately, come morning, Sam has turned and attacks Ellie, their brawl spilling out into the next room where Henry snatches up Joel's revolver, holds him at gunpoint before ending the creature that was once Sam. Man, I'm so glad his life was so sad and so short, definitely not trying to manipulate my emotions. Breaking from the game, Henry doesn't blame Joel. He freaks out as anyone would, given what he did. Well, his gun speaks for him, and so ends Henry and Sam's involvement in the central story. The episode ends with our central pair burying their friends and starting out west to continue their tale. Now, unlike the half episode where the story actually advanced, I did enjoy it, and unlike previous episodes where Joel spends the entire episode acting stupid, in this one we see a brief glimpse of Joel from the game. He takes charge and manages to back up what he's saying when shooting, but at other times we see the odd pushover Joel that the show has been selling us. If only we hadn't spent ages recapping the previous episode and our bad but not bad guys that ultimately don't matter because they all died. I suspect an argument could be made that episode 4 and 5 probably could be merged into a single episode if we just cut all that out, and we wouldn't have lost anything of value. And it might have just been as long as the first episode, or possibly shorter, and that would have been fine with me. And while there are no new points to add to my Idiot Joel theory, I do see where the writers put themselves into a corner when the infected are swarming. If Joel is the incompetent bungler, then Ellie will die, so they have to make him a competent survivor that we see in the game, in stark contrast to the inept version they've tried to sell us. You could say he started caring for Ellie and then goes Super Joel to save her. Given how he's been depicted in previous episodes, this would have involved him leaping from the window, breaking his ankle, somehow shooting Ellie, while trying to hit a clicker that was only 3 feet to her left. And while she was injured, she would have had to save all 4 of them. I think the writers accidentally wrote Joel correctly for this scene, and it's definitely not on purpose, because the Joel they want us to see, the Joel necessary for part 2 to be logical, the one they set up in this show, could not have done any of that. But what are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments below. We've reached the mid-season point, and for every good point I find in this show, I find one equally bad, so I'm going to continue to withhold judgment until it's over. If you enjoyed this video, consider leaving a like and subscribing to the Nerd with No Job. I've been John, that nerd with no job, and I hope you have an awesome day.